You did
Build
it.
the population, notable and unique defenses. I'm excited to do this. Wow.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
And
Alrighty.
we're live.
Oh,
Just
welcome.
as you said that. Yeah. Welcome
Roll
back.
high and subscribe.
So I would not going to take responsibility for it, but on Monday night.
Hold on. Hello, welcome. I am Chris, and this is Spencer.
I killed Chris in the game on Monday, but it wasn't my fault. And we're going to talk about deaths, Chris's death, and show you an example of how, because I thought it was cool how you handled that mid-game, by the way, mid-battle. And you had been playing with this guy for like what feels like forever. So
almost a full notebook.
I would like to know from you how killing the death of your character, because I really didn't kill him, and I'll get into that later. But I did, because I ate his brain as a mind flayer. It was delicious. I didn't have a flashback, by the way, which is cool. And we handled it very well, but I was a little bit nervous as a DM, because everything was so random how he died, and we'll get into that as well. But you've been playing with this character forever, and I really liked him, and I think the group really liked him too. And you played him well, and then like everyone sort of went prone except for one guy, and he wasn't able to get to you. And like at that point in time, I'm like, do I cheat? Do I dungeon master board this? Do I hide, or do I just let the dice go? Because you could have had all ones on the damage, but before we get into all that, I want to know your take on the death, because you're the one who experienced it, really.
All right, so
it was hilarious.
For context, if you haven't seen, the party was stranded on this floating island. Our route getting there disappeared, and we were trying to make our way somewhere. Seth, my character, has this teleport spell, so I was like, all right, sweet, I'm going to teleport us back to the ship. I've done this once before in a much more dire situation. I have my captain's hat, which is the captain's hat of the boat, and I'm like, this is the one time that I thought it might have been your fault for Seth dying, was I've been pushing for my captain's hat to be considered part of the boat so we can teleport there without risking it.
Funny. This was so funny.
Spencer was saying, there's a chance for a mishap. Of course, we're going to take the chance for a mishap.
Right.
And of course, I roll like a 5 or something. I roll the mishap. We go to a random ship. The dice tell the story, and it happens to be some mind flayers on the ship.
Yeah, right.
But they are not motion, or they are motionless, just floating there. We announce ourselves, say hello. We try to tap them on the shoulder, and they turn and attack. They mind blasted, and Seth happened to be in a bad position, but we were all stunned, so I couldn't really do much.
It was hilarious.
I will say, leading up to that point of like knowing he died, thinking back on it, reflecting on it, I as a character did everything I could to try and save myself.
Right. And you know what's funny? I think everyone else for the most part did, but you can always roll medical on a guy, but still.
I think knowing that I tried everything I could to save him makes it a whole lot easier to let him go. Yeah. Of like, yep, the dice were rolled. I could see the amounts. It was what it was. But the one thing that I think helped with this is not the first character of mine that you have killed, nor is it the first one that you have killed spontaneously and just like definitively, you're gone right from now.
So the way it happened for me, and it's funny how you left out certain details of the story that I am not going to. But
let me say some other details of it, because I after he died, because of that, I knew how fun it is to watch the other players discover that he's dead.
Right.
See, because you can really see, and just like as a player, I'm out. I'm an observer now, and it's fun for me to just watch them role play and have fun with it. And because of that, the most amazing random ass situation happened with Turgan being able to see dead people from shoving the skull, and he is the only one who could tell I was dead because I was invisible.
It was beyond hysterical what happened, but let me fill it in. So as I said before, it is quite funny that you left out some details, and the details you left out. Now, yes, my Mind Flayer dealt you like 50 points of damage twice in a row when he was eating your brain. And obviously, you failed those checks, the grapple in particular, and then you were also prone. But how we got there, you guys were on a floating island. The group had decided to leave their ship tethered to the magical staircase that appeared. And that is in mid-air, by the way. It's the middle stratus, so it's like in the middle of the air. And you guys have no way of getting down. So you decide, instead of to move the story along, we decided, or you guys decided, that you were going to teleport. And yes, of course, I'm going to have you roll for a mishap. And the mishap I was really worried about you just coming out in the middle of the air, and I was just going to have to, save someone. But people could fly,
I have feather fall.
Right, but I can let people die. But
we'll be fine.
Yeah. You rolled, and I was like, okay, where is he going to go? He wants to go to our ship. But you had rolled decently, but not like good enough to actually get to the ship. So you went to a random ship. And so I had to, on the spot, just randomly, not using anything, just create a table. I was like, all right, I'm going to pick 6 races or bad guys, half good, half bad. And, I just picked from the local world that we're building, the Minotaurs from the Shadowhide realm. I had some goblins from the forest. I had Mind Flayers. I had pirates. I had the Orc pirate, two versions of the pirates. And then High Elf. And Bryant, because he hadn't rolled in a while, I was like, Bryant, you haven't rolled in a while. Why don't you roll me? And it came to Mind Flayers. And on top of that, I said, okay, this is going to be a ship filled with the Mind Flayers that you guys just killed the Elder Brains. The Mind Flayers in my world are just going to sit there sort of, like when that happens, they're going to sit there sort of like drones and not moving unless they're touched. And one of you randomly went over and just pushed one of the Mind Flayers.
We're trying to get their attention to see what was going on since they weren't responding to our vocal.
Now, what happened after that was probably one of the funniest, and I hadn't laughed like that in such a long time playing D&D. It was so funny, especially when Adam was like, who plays Turgan, was like, wait a minute, hold on, you're dead? And we had just, and like you had died, and then Adam was just complaining about this random table feat that I had given him from the white skull that he tuned to, and his feat was that he can converse with recently deceased souls. So Chris ended up having some turns there, which was so cool. And I feel like a homebrew like ring that you can give to your characters, like give to like one person in the group. That allows the person that died to have a little bit of a turn left, or like, hey, watch out, that type of thing. But that was hilarious. Now, when it came to the death, I was nervous, as a DM, I don't like killing the characters, but it's part of the game. I like that it's going to set a tone where things matter a little bit. We've talked about that in a previous Let's Talk Lore about player deaths and like the importance of it, because decisions matter. And it's going to be funny how the group sees your decisions and your new character, and whether or not they're going to say, Chris, we're going to do what Adam wants to do this time. Or but yeah, I was a little bit worried, but you handled it like a champ. You created a new character. You stayed at the table. It was very funny that you could play the soul. And that character we're going to build in a little bit. But I felt good about this death. The first time I killed someone, I was like, shit, like that was an accident. Like,
what, my character?
Yeah,
Rena?
Yeah. And then like Matt's guy, he just goes down the hallways, just, destroying, not the game, but just like, like decisions don't matter. So he, you boom, like a trap, a heavy, hard trap. But I don't know. I feel like if I was inexperienced at DMing, I probably would have saved you.
Trying to pull a punch somehow.
Yeah, when you pull punches and you can do it, I have said to myself, I'm not going to pull punches towards the end. Like if these guys are hunkering down and it's clear that like it's going to be a close one, well then it's going to be a close one, But I'll pull punches in mid fight, or
something that I thought you did, and I was very appreciative of it, was you let me try. Like, you let me bend the rules, or try to bend the rules a little to try to save myself.
Right.
Like, you allowed me to do a silver barbs, to try just, like, use all the last-minute resources that I could possibly have, because I think you and I were the only people who understood what was happening.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
So I don't think anyone realized why I was, like, arguing so much for some of these things. I'm like, if I don't get this, I'm gone. You don't understand.
Yeah, the real issue was that everyone else failed the dominate monster, and that was brutal when I realized.
Yeah.
That. I thought you guys took down the last monster, the last 2 mind flayers, and I put 2. You guys battled 2 of them.
The other thing that didn't help, hold on, I gotta call one thing out. I'm sorry, Tyler. You have a turn. You see a mind flayer already ate a big chunk of my head.
Yeah.
And instead of pulling him off or attacking or doing anything, you're just invisible.
Yeah. Yeah, he goes, I'm gonna swing my big sword, miss twice, and go invisible as a bonus action or whatever it was. That was very funny. No. The whole thing was hilarious.
Yeah.
Absolutely hilarious.
The other thing that made it, I think, a satisfying character death was he had a moment before. Like earlier in the session, he had that moment where he read everyone into the lore. He brought everyone into it.
This was crazy because I had told you, and I do this with characters, but in particular, I do it with you a lot because you're my my partner.
You're my bro.
Building this, yeah, you're my bro. And we build this world together. I don't just as a DM. Yes, I get 51%. Vote, but I rely heavily on my players and a lot on Chris to build the world. So I had told you, and it was right for the story too. You guys are going around searching for the skulls of power, and you find one, you have one, and your character isn't quite strong enough to shove it in his head. So there's like a certain ritual you need to perform, and so and you also had decided in the previous one that you wanted to tell that it's time to like get the story going with the skulls. So I had told you, Chris, you have your character Stag monologue, you role play the
he
disclosing
spent
information
weeks and
but this information that you gave the group was so important. Was like so important to the storyline. That's why it was great that you did it. And the fact it was funny if you just look at it, like I was like, all right, Chris, I'm gonna have a huge lore drop. I'm gonna start next session with a huge lore drop. But Chris, since you did the studying of the skulls and you're in character, you're gonna give the discussion. And I didn't read anything. You sent me it, and I was like, you know what? I trust Chris to do this well. And you did such a good job. And all that information was given to the group. It was clear that you had prepared this. They all listened. And then you randomly go off and die. Who knew that? Like, and it was so cool because like that just shows you like, you know,
if you think of like a story arc in a movie, it's like that. It's a perfect moment of like everything's gonna change.
Dude, you were like Miles Dyson in Terminator 2. That's what it
I'll
was
take
like.
it. I'll take it.
You told the group that where the arm is. You told them how to get rid of the Terminators, and then at the very last scene, you were like, I don't know how long I can hold this.
Mind flare in the back of my head.
Mind flare, eating brain. But yeah, I mean, in terms of like a player death, I thought that was as smooth as it's going to get. I would probably be a little bit peeved, not like upset, but the dice. It is a game, but I'm just happy that it all worked out. Like if you didn't have that send off or that monologue at the beginning, I would have been like, damn, like got to figure out how to now tell this lore drop in a different way. I think that was really cool. It was like story-driven death almost. But
that
you
gives
guys
me
did it.
That gives me a good thought of. There's been two that have felt very satisfying. Lone Star and Seth. They've been dramatic, but for me as a player, it's felt like good. But I'm okay with them going and starting a new character. Because it feels like the whole time I was playing them, I was working towards their goal.
Yes.
I was striving and doing everything I could to do what they would want to be doing. And it felt like they were at the pinnacle, the farthest reach that I could get them to, and they've succeeded and done whatever they've done.
I think that what you're talking about, and I always like to do this in the Let's Talk Lore, is to bring things back to our real world that we live in. Deaths that are meaningful typically happen when the person that's dying or has passed away has left a sign that he has lived. So like what I mean by that, like all the famous, presidents who pass away, or the heroes that die, or like, your civil rights, activists, or the whatever, how they chose to live their life. Like even famous baseball players, those guys did it to a point, like to a T. And so you celebrate their deaths in the real world by remembering them. And so when you bring it to D&D, it's like the player character deaths that are meaningful and like will rock out are the ones who are the deaths that the player has played their character in a way that is some sort of heroic, memorable, achieved a lot or whatever, or like is part of the storyline, or like self-sacrifice type thing was huge with Lone Star, like something like that.
Well, it's the connections that
your characters
make.
The other characters, the other players responding to your death once they realized that this was it, and then everyone was trying to run and go dig through their pockets to try to figure out where's the potion. Buddhabot at the end of the game tried to mend you with that medical spell, but it only attaches like limbs to a body. It doesn't bring the soul back in.
Well, it doesn't recreate a brain.
That was like a perfect example of how like serious everyone like realized it was. And like imagine that visually in a movie. It's like you cast this spell, your last little spell in your spell slot, and you're like, come on, Stag, come on. And his portion of his head that was decapitated goes back onto it, but he's still dead. Well, you rolled poorly.
As a player, it felt a lot like everyone, like you have this whole big, like powerful group. They're going out to fight.
Yeah.
This one guy, character, he's always there. He gets knocked down. He's always back up right in the fight. Never an issue.
Right.
Everyone's fighting. He's looking rough. Everyone's looking rough, but they're like, he's fine. He got it. A couple rounds later, we haven't heard from him. Where is he? Oh, he's gone a while back. Oh, shit.
Yeah.
But I think that after I came to terms with Seth being dead, then it was immediately a race to try and get my next character done before the end of the session, because I took some time to, like I was saying, to just observe the other players, and I could tell it was going to hit everyone hard.
Yep.
So I'm like, okay, right before I did Tammy Joe, I'm like, I need to lighten the mood a second. All right, we're going Southern.
Yeah, and as a DM, Mind Flayers and Lithids, they'll teleport or they'll run away if they get super close to death. And both those guys were. And the moment of the realization that you were dead happened towards like when I was trying to teleport away. And I was just like, I really I want to cling on to that a little bit. But it was perfect timing. The whole thing was perfect because they were literally one was at 2 HP and one was at 1. I mean, it was so close. Dude.
Oh,
it was like the guy that was holding you. The guy that was holding you was literally like 4 away or 5 away or whatever. It was insane. Buddhabot was like one literally a sword miss away. It was so close. But as a DM, let it go. Don't save them. If you want to hold your punches, why don't you hold the punch in the middle of the fight? And then, but like as a player, I feel like these deaths that you're having or have had, I think you hit it right on the head, the nail on the head. I think that if you're playing your character and you had goals and you set it up during session 0 or whenever you create your character and you have goals and you're working towards those goals, and everyone's sort of like, you role play it, you tell people your goals and whatever, and they start helping you get those goals. Now they're somewhat invested in your goals and you achieving it, and then you pass away. Like, it's like regret. It's like, I shouldn't have helped you, or, I helped you too much, or I didn't help you enough. It's really cool. It's really, really cool way to, pass the baton on to your next character. So the best way to die in D&D as a player, live your player's life, right?
Yeah, go. Don't hold back.
Yeah.
It's a game of role-playing and exploration. Go do it.
And the dice don't lie. Clearly. That was so funny. It was so funny. Hey, Chris, do you mind, I think it'd be cool if you did the lore drop this week for the group. And then,
it fit perfectly.
Later, your head is broken.
The last year and a half, I've been having my character studying these skulls because I've been trying to get the whole group back on track, onto the focus. I finally did. But the other, a note, random tangent, that you were saying about not being merciful during the fight. You can let players die, and you can still do other amazing things to bring them back after they've died.
True.
And make it more meaningful, more powerful, make them have some other tie. They are unconscious and dead, but then they wake up and are speaking to some deity, or some devil, or some warlock patron. It's just an opportunity for more story.
Yeah. And here's a good example. We actually recently did that with Adam. I made you guys sacrifice someone. Someone in the group had to sacrifice himself. I didn't tell you that it was just a test. But
Right.
it took like 20 minutes for you guys to talk
No.
about who it was. But Adam was like, fuck it, I'm gonna do it. And he went through the door and he died essentially. And then the next session I tricked it, came back. But you're saying don't let death be the final chapter. There could be a continuation.
Well, and that I think is a really good point of a conversation for a DM and a player to have.
Yep.
If it happens to fall like near the end of the session, afterwards, of course, like what you did with me, check in, say, hey, how do you feel about the death? Just to understand like where the player is going, what their mindset are, and if they're ready to start a new character, or if they're really attached to that character and they feel like they have something that they still need to do. Then that's an easy of, okay, now we have to find out who you're going to be indebted to keep this life alive.
That's insane.
Because there's always, and it's D&D, it's a fantasy, it's a made-up story. There's always a way. And if a player is so invested into a character, and like people love their characters with artwork, and it doesn't have to just be they die. Oh, I waste the gold value of a diamond and I bring them back with a spell. It's like a death can be a death, but it can also be an opportunity to direct people.
Yeah.
If there's still like a lot left for Stag to do, the end scene instead of Tammy Joe coming out could have been Stag wakes up in a very hot place and he sees Darth Aranis and he sees Asmodeus and he offers and all right, now you're in a battle of the bands against Asmodeus to try and free your soul or free Aranis' soul or some crazy story.
Yeah, it could be. That is cool. Because then you can sort of, well, now we're getting really, really off topic here.
Well, I was thinking
random tangent. If you had a death and you ended the session there or shortly thereafter, then you spoke meta sort of to the player who's upset or whatever. In this particular case, with you had already created your character. I was like, all right, this guy's moving.
Yep.
But if the guy was like, do I really die? Whatever, you can tell them no, but you have to. You're going to have a vision from Dungeon Doom or Agot Doomhander. You're going to have a scared god that says you need to find this object, kill this person, and put this here in 6 days, and no one can know about it.
Yeah, no one can know why.
Yeah, or your soul is mine.
Or your soul immediately perishes.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah.
And,
especially if you have a party that's lagging and slowing on, it's like, no, perfect. Now here's the motivation for the party to get going.
Crazy. But yeah, that was sick. Live your player's life, your player character's life in the game, just like you do in the real world, and it'll be remembered. That's how you do a good death in D&D. That's So essentially, it depends.
Talk to your players.
All topics. It depends.
It depends. Talk to your players.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
Now, at the end of this last session, you passed away and you took it like a champ, and you created your character. And I knew you were creating it because I think you said you're working on creating it, but you're listening. So, your head's down, you're listening. But I had at the very end of the session, I had decided that I was going to have you in the like a storage area in the ship, and it's just a coincidence that you texted me and you were like, I'm ready, and she's in the storage area downstairs. So I was like, what the hell? And then I said, "What's your name? What's your character's name, Chris?" And you said, "Tammy Joe."
It's
And
Tammy Joe.
yeah, I don't know if it's a Southern accent yet, but I'm going to take out my notepad for Tammy Joe so I can take some world building. Now, I love world building. This with people, our world with people, because every single time I do a death, or someone passes away, a new character comes, and that character is from a different space, a different area in the world. I have the map, and it's huge. Not a lot of it's filled out. So this is like a great opportunity for me as a DM to use your characters' backstories and explore, what they're doing and why they're doing it to help fill it out. So, what's your character's? What's his deal? What's her deal? What's its deal?
Tammy Joe is a high elf. She's like middle aged, so probably like upper 600-700s. The society, well, the boat that this is rough lore building, and world building as the session was going on. Yeah. So we were on a boat that had high elves on it. We were in a high elf area, and the boat was attacked by mind flayers. So I was going to have her be a stowaway from wherever they came from. And I was thinking, we haven't really seen high elves out in the world before in the game. So, and they typically, elves, or especially high elves, look down upon most other races. Right. So I'm like, oh, they're a little secluded enclave in the Everglade, because that's where all the elves normally are. Right. So they're in a little enclave, and they, when any calamity comes, they hunker down themselves, sort of like turtle in, and they have to have some deeper cavern. Now I'm thinking more, because we have the dragons in the Everglade, under the Everglade, with Dr. Keefe or something. I forget his name. Yeah. But my thought was this is this old civilization that has shunned the rest of the world, and they keep to themselves. And only now in the zombie apocalypse does their closing themselves off from the rest of the world not work, because death inside brought the zombie inside, and it caused everyone to begin to flee. And that is where she became a stowaway on the ship. So she was running away. So she lives in, let's go back here. Okay. Her name is Tammy Joe, and she's from Ashendon. So here, let me show you the map. Hold on. And I'm going to put it on my my Zoom, if you can see that. So this is the map I've been building. You see it's quite large. It's the Underdark. There's a whole bunch of areas, but this is the main world here of Andravan, which just means skull in the Dwarvish. But anyway, here is the Shadowhide realm. Here is the Artemisian Forest, and then you can see here I don't have Ashendon, Everglade, or Morkai, which is the Goblin area, filled out. Okay. Now I always like conflict between the realms. So you have more magical stuff in my mind when I was making this out. You have more magical stuff happening in the Everglades. Right. Ashendon is going to be more like the high elf society. I haven't built that out yet, and I'm excited to see this, because there's going to be a conflict between your borders, between Ashendon and the forest. There's going to be a conflict between Ashendon and the Everglade. There's going to be a conflict between Morkai and the Everglade. And there's also that white region there where there's the frost. Perfect. So your guy is from Everglade?
Or like,
Well, if you're saying Ashendon is if your planning is the big high elf area,
yeah,
well, they can be from there.
okay,
That works. We didn't have as far as I understood,
yeah.
a high elf place. So
So
that works well.
yeah, so it's like I'm thinking like think Rivendell in Lord of the Rings meets the White City in Return of the King, like
Okay.
massive,
Yeah.
like beautiful,
Right.
like elegant. Like we had the Metropolis Trigard where the dwarves sort of was technologically advanced. This one is going to be more of like the I don't know. I wouldn't say it's going to be more technologically advanced, but definitely like more elfish. I would just say
More inherently magical.
yeah, and like old. Like
Yeah.
it's like Trigard was new money, and Ashendon is going to be
It's old money,
right? So that's that. So your character's from Ashendon, and this is where I like these tables. And for like what do these people in Ashendon value?
Okay.
Your character's from Ashendon. Right. So like, and this might be a part where you can do this with a DM like we're doing right now. And like, maybe she's fighting against what the people like. What are the chances that I open this Game Master's book of random tables, the purple one, if you see it online, and it opens up to city conflicts and city secrets.
All right, what page is that?
78. Chris.
Yes.
Roll me a city secret.
D10.
D10.
A 4.
The city features gargoyle statues all around the city that are listening and watching on behalf of the government. Love it.
I love it. These random tables are just like that spark.
Yep.
So now immediately my mind goes to that's the way that the government can watch everyone, and it's a very oppressive high elf government. And she was fleeing to escape the rigors of that society.
Love it. City conflicts.
You roll this one, Spencer.
D10. I got this cool. This was a gift from my daughter. Well, my wife, but my daughter. It's from my daughter. Here we go. Spin it, and then you stop it, and it's a 5.
Oh. An ongoing Cold War espionage-style conflict with a neighboring country.
Oh my God, that's amazing. Cold War with Everglade.
Mm-hmm.
And Everglade was going to be my Feywild.
That's perfect.
That's insane.
That is perfect.
And then, so that's the overarching. I would say that the overarching thing is this Cold War that people are talking about throughout the city. The city gargoyles are how the system is held together, and it's sort of oppressive.
How and they catch any dissent
is, or they catch intruders,
Mm-hmm.
And then minor city conflicts. You roll this one.
A 3. Oh, come on.
Wow. Pox.
So instead of pox, it's a zombie apocalypse. Disease. Infesting them.
The disease, and that's where you get your guy back. That's hilarious. That's really, really cool. Okay, so just with those 3 table rolls from this awesome book, this is crazy.
I use this one more than any other of those books.
It's so I'm thinking now we'll go off table off the game book. I love that. So Ashendon is going to be this massive old money city ruled by high elf, who I would have to say probably think of themselves as having, 20 stat block intelligence, but they might actually only have 10, just because they're sort of like,
are you thinking
not obnoxious? But
are you thinking one ruling family, or a couple in a council?
I was gonna say council.
A few different houses in a council.
Yeah. Like instead of having kings, a king and a queen, you have the council, and they each have like a vote. Or do you need to? Well,
they
matriarch.
Do they each have a section of the town, the city?
Oh, they have a section of the space.
They're
zone.
Governors. They're a governor of the zone. The family has taken over the house. The family has taken over, say, 1/5 of the place.
So there's going to be 5 zones.
5 zones.
And maybe, and you know what? You can build something funny in it. There's 5 zones, and they each. And you got to remember, all the zones are working together using these gargoyle things to spy on the city, on the citizens, but also
on each other.
But they're also doing it on each other, which is very funny.
You have the political infighting of them. You have the Cold War, where they're trying to come together.
The wet blanket,
against the Everglade.
Oh God, dude! And they're so busy doing that they're not paying attention to what's really happening and what we really need to address, which is the pox,
which is the zombie that's in the slums,
and
which is where
you want to bring the full circle back.
Which is where Tammy Joe comes from.
Yeah, the forest had that lycanthropy. And recently had a zombie apocalypse.
They sent it as biological.
The entrance to the trivium is where Doomhand is from, and he studied dead, rotting corpses and everything, and bringing them back to life. Perhaps it spread from the forest, and that's a neighboring thing too.
It didn't spread. It was planted. It was biological warfare. The people in the Everglade got a sample and purposely infected in the city.
That's very funny.
It's part of their part of the war.
Biological warfare. I absolutely love it. Okay, so now that you have all this information, let's roll out Tammy Joe.
Oh, on the on the other table?
No. This is your player. Okay. You're in complete control of that. NPCs I like to roll out. But Tammy Joe, you have some. You don't have to do it now, but I just want to know what race and what class she is.
Okay, so she is a high elf.
What are you leaning towards? So it's a high elf.
I already know what I'm doing. There is a cleric in the party if he ever plays. You have a heavy martial character in Turgan. You have a heavy magic character in Jake with Sprock if he ever plays. Booterbot is all about magic. So I was like, I want to be just like your average person who's just like really good at stuff. Not a magical person, so I'm a rogue.
Just I just want to be an average guy who does 45 damage on a sneak attack and goes on my way with all your belongings. Got it. No, I love it. I love it. We haven't had a rogue in a while.
I also happen to have elven accuracy, so anytime I roll with advantage, I get to roll 3 dice to get that crit on my sneak attack.
I like that.
Tammy Jo, so she is a swashbuckler rogue. Charismatic, which is good. But she has some fun abilities that makes her survivable in combat. Also, she is a cook. She is a chef. So she will cook food for everyone.
What are her goals? You don't need to have them.
Her short-term immediate goal was to get somewhere safe. Or to find safety. And I think she just found that in this group. And seeing and hearing what they
just
did to my Flayer. So
yeah.
And what happened to them. And like there's the body of a dead satyr that's there. And she's going to see how they treat their friend who has died. And maybe she doesn't want to stay with them because they just throw him off the side and say, hey, sucks to be you. Without checking his pockets and the green skull goes flying off. Who knows? We'll see if anyone searches them.
That's very funny.
I think longer term, before this, she wouldn't have been a noble in a noble house. She would have been probably one of the people from the slums. Why she fled when she did is because she fled at the onset of the spread of the pox. Long-term motivation probably is to make a lot of money, just like any good rogue, and to get back at one of the houses or whatever house whose district she lived in, to topple that whole family.
All right, now pause.
Yes.
That family. Roll me. You just go ahead and roll me 5. Hold on. Wait a minute. Small town tenants. Let me get the. Small town. Well, I think small town is better. Okay. Where are the tables for the small town people?
Small town or nobles?
I would say, oh yeah, noble, you're right. You are correct. That is correct. Where are my noble guys? Do you see where the nobles are? They're in the back, aren't they? They're always there. Every time I look for anything, ever in this life or somewhere else,
it's always in the back of the book.
It's always the last place I look. And that's just what's called finding something. Because when you find it, you found it in the last place you look. I can't find the nobles. So, Chris, we might just have to.
Which book are you in? Are you in the same one?
I'm in the NPC book.
Okay, I don't even have that in front of me.
All right, roll me small town. Roll me a d20.
2.
Oh wow, butcher. Roll me another d20.
7.
Butcher Wardenford.
House Butcher Wardenford?
Yeah, Butcher Wardenford. Roll me another d20.
A 3.
Butcher Wardenford with lard slicked hair and mud encrusted hands.
Okay.
Lard hair.
It's like slicked back?
Yeah, lard slicked hair and mud encrusted hands.
Okay.
Roll me
So
another
they're
one.
probably the farming district.
Yeah.
16.
Who is trying to lay low and avoid the tax collector, who's probably another in a different zone.
Different district, yes.
Is roll me another one.
9.
The tax collector, or they won't inherit a vast piece of land. Is carrying around one last one.
5.
804 copper, individually wrapped slices of cheese, and a half full wineskin. This guy's a douchebag. That's what I got out of that.
This guy is.
Is he is he my first ever fat elf? Like, is this the guy?
I think this guy is your down to earth noble family from the area, where they're trying to help the people, the regular people. They're farming. They have a lot of their district dedicated to farmland, and a lot of the nobles are out in the farms with them.
Yeah.
So he has a lot of coin to pay people and get food, and has the wineskin because he's out working all day and shares with the peoples.
Yeah.
But it's not lucrative enough, and the rest of the council's threatening to take away their deeds unless they pay exorbitant taxes that they keep raising, since they know how much they can afford because they're listening in on gargoyles.
That's so funny. Yeah. I mean, listen. And
here's Tammy Joe. Tammy Joe worked with Butcher Warden for whatever the name is, and is wanting to help topple the other houses and rise this lord to a singular rulership to help all the peoples.
She wants Butcher to be number one?
To rule them all, yes.
So she knows about his secret, which is that if he doesn't get his tax money, he won't be able to sustain his zone.
And they'll take it.
Ultimately rise up. And they, whoever they are, which is my world building, will take it. Perhaps just absorb the zone in 4. Right?
Or they keep it separate and enslave everyone as laborers to make their food.
Know that Tammy Joe is going to help him.
I think she's a level 10 rogue. I would think at this point she would. Or he would. I would think she has worked for him, but she is like not of the noble family. Like if he has dirty work that needs done, he will go to her. Or like her people.
Would it be that Tammy Joe was actually part of a crew who were flying over to find riches, or perhaps she was going over to Everglade, and that's where this thing is headed, to broker a manipulative truce to back. But the Feywild, they don't care about that.
No.
But Mordecai,
it would be to plant false evidence against one of the other houses.
Yeah. Okay. So they were
because it would be a group of rogues. Yeah, that makes and that's why she would be deceiving them, hiding in a closet.
All right. Here, do you have your NPC book? No.
I will get it. It's across the hall.
All right. I'm going to roll real quick some numbers while Chris is out getting his NPC book, Game Master's Guide. All right.
All right, I got it.
So the person that she is trying to plant evidence on.
Mm-hmm.
These are some good numbers.
What page are you on?
I was on 180 something, but I found the nobles. Which are... No, I did not find them. Sorry.
That's good. It's Big City Denizens.
Yeah.
Outposts.
9. So she's going to go spread rumors. No, she's going to go plant something.
Plant evidence. Or
About something. That will broker. Is this going to be the tax collector?
Mm-hmm.
That will.
She's gonna
blackmail him.
Yeah.
Blackmail. Okay.
Here's a good one. They have rumors that he has fathered a half elf in the Everglade, and they're going to get evidence and bring the child back.
And it's a half elf.
Mm-hmm.
And that means that what's the other half? We'll roll
human.
We'll have
or roll for it.
We'll roll for that in game if it ever comes up, because that'll be hilarious. All right, do you have your names and everything in front of you? The character tables.
But which one?
Whichever
80
one.
For who they're going after?
Yeah.
I would say small town.
Okay. I saw big town, and then there's small town.
Yeah.
You roll. Yeah. I'll tell you the numbers. Let me know when you're ready.
Actually, no. We're gonna do outposts.
Nice.
And we're gonna make them an oddball and an outsider. Cause you're a half elf.
Wait,
or is this
he's a half elf?
So wait.
Ooh.
Who is this? The
this is the tax
man?
Collector. This is the tax.
Oh, this is the tax collector.
This is the tax collector that the butcher Wanderford.
Okay, 59
needs to pay, or he's going to lose his zone.
Okay. Where's the table? Oh.
And this person is your immediate goal or middle goal. It's not your long goal is money. Your immediate goal was safety because of the mind flayers randomly showing up on your ship, and your medium goal is to plant this blackmail thing.
Yes.
So 17.
Or to topple. What's his name?
Let's build this.
To topple Loon.
Loon 7.
Loon Hardborn.
19.
19. With dark hair, several tattoos, and even more piercings.
I cannot wait to use Hero Forge to build this guy out. Dark hair, several tattoos, and even more piercings.
Yes.
8 doesn't sound like a high elf.
8. Who seeks an airtight alibi.
Wow, this is 10.
And is the main street mangler, a killer thought long dead, and he's a serial killer.
So he is a serial killer. He's a killer? Thought dead?
Yeah. Well, it's the thing. He's like Jack the Ripper.
Yeah.
Who everyone thought was dead, but he's still alive and killing people.
I like the idea of him being like, this is how corrupt and crazy this Evan Ashendon is.
Ashendale.
They have this council that works together against the Everglades, but that's the only thing that they have in common.
Mm-hmm.
Everything else is there against each other. And this guy, the tax collector, who has this dark hair, these tattoos, he seeks a tight alibi because he doesn't want anyone knowing that he's the killer, has actually recently, in the last 100 years, killed 3 of the houses and gotten away with it, and no one really knows. But people think that the killer's gone, but he's really the tax guy. Right?
It's really is waiting for the next house to not step in line, and then they take him out.
Yeah.
I like it.
I don't know if Tammy Joe is going to know he's the killer, or is Tammy Joe just has that secret information that he's a half elf.
Oh, so Loon is a half elf.
Yeah, maybe that's what it is.
Ooh.
And thus doesn't actually, maybe Loon, if you dive even further in his backstory, maybe Loon killed the old tax guys. And
I'm thinking Loon is originally from the Everglade. And this is like the deep
elf from the Everglade.
Deep con from the Cold War.
Yeah.
Is he killed? He was historically a killer that would, in the long old days of the Cold War, was the killer, would kill a bunch of the High Elves. And
the High Elves killed his mother, who was a Feywild.
Yeah.
And now it's all
perfect.
Yes.
And then he used his ability to kill a noble, and then to install himself there, and has over the years killed some of the other noble houses.
Yep. And how do you bring down a whole civilization? You cut off its food source.
Mm-hmm.
That's the first thing. You cripple the masses, make them turn on their government. And how you do that? You take the food away, and the farmer is the first attack.
Yep.
And he is going after those taxes, citing him for everything.
Yep.
And Tammy Joe is there to come to the rescue. Tammy Joe. He doesn't have to have. Tammy Joe doesn't have to have. She doesn't have to have a southern accent, but.
Well, Tam Joe was on her way down to help out Butcher, but she got caught up by some mind flayers and hid in a little storage compartment down under that there engine compartment.
You got to be like, woo! That's like,
yeehaw!
Yeah, that's gonna be so fucking annoying after.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Oh yes.
Thank you, mother-in-law and aunt-in-law and grandmother-in-law, for all of the conversations we've had.
Yes. And my mom. That's it. That's Spencer. Here. Wanted to do one last world building thing. And the last right before you got on that ship, you walk by, all the ports are going to have gargoyles. Gargoyles are going to be everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And you saw people talking. And would the gargoyle talk, or they're just statues that listen? So
I would think they're just statues that listen and watch.
Right, but when a gargoyle shows up, how do people in that town feel? Like
when one is installed,
they're being watched.
Yeah, they're feeling
they don't
being
get
watched.
Installed. They just appear.
They appear.
Yeah, and the next morning they're there, and they don't leave until whatever. So on your way out, the gargoyle appeared earlier in the evening. I guess it always comes at night. and you heard rumors on the street. Roll me a d20.
Uh-oh. An 8.
A major merchant caravan is said to be a week late because they were attacked and eaten by a dragon. Oh, yeah. So that's the last, that's the rumor that you heard the middle to lower class workers at Ashendon talking on the pier as you got on your airship.
Okay.
And we don't know, let's see, even or odd?
We don't know if it's true.
Yeah, even or odd?
Odd.
We don't know if it's true. No, it is not. That rumor is not the reason why the Gargoyle showed up.
Okay.
But that rumor is 100% true. Because I'm not getting rid of it. That's where I get the 51%,
Well, you already have a bunch of dragons nearby anyway.
So a major merchant caravan was eaten by a dragon. There's a lot going on
in Everglade?
in Ashendon. And then like the Feywild, which we will get to soon. What's going on with the dragons there? That's the question. Dude, this is sick. I love it. This particular Let's Talk Lore, we did the character deaths. Chris just created his character. And we sort of like showed you guys how to build your character with a DM. I love to include my players in the world building process, just like we did. It takes a little bit of time, but that really, it was only like 20 minutes. If you could build your character and then like you and the DM both own this story together, makes it a little bit easier for the player to get into his zone. Now you have information, your backstory. You have something to tell the group without me having to do it for you. I get to talk less. And then you also ultimately, to bring it full circle back to what we were talking about during Great Player Deaths, you've already sort of set up a goal. You have a whole cool backstory. You're going to relate to the areas. You're going to have a little bit of information to help the characters and the players play the game because they're going to be relying on you. It'll be easier for you to infiltrate the group. And when this character dies, you're going to have a good send-off.
Never. Tam and Joe's going to make it all the way to the end of this campaign because rogues never die.
Maybe Tammy
rogues
gets
always survives.
Yeah. And is she... question is she the green hero? Because the other guys are not playing enough. So
maybe, I was thinking maybe Turkin just takes them all. Maybe we just keep shoving these skulls in Turkin's head.
He's gonna do it, and he just goes prone. You can't have more than one.
No, he wakes up in the morning and he has to roll so many dice to find out how each one of these skulls is pulling him in another direction, so he has to get one taken out of him.
Yeah. I always said the player is going to stay their color, but that does not have to be either. But Turgon certainly does.
Yeah.
Well,
he's already the soon-to-be White Sage.
Right.
The other backtracking to what you were talking about of building out the character and the backstory, I think the other fun thing that we did is when we do it together and it's some of the player, me, is like creating stuff in there. It gives me more of the freedom to keep creating parts of the story because I know generally how much you've created. I know how much flexibility and freedom I have. Like I can go describing all about the farm plant area or all about the the noble family and all of that interaction freely without thinking I'm stepping on your toes.
Yes.
If anything, I'm world building stuff for you to use.
Yeah, and I think that like doing it this way, it's less stressful for me. It's sharing the burden.
Mm-hmm.
It's sort of setting up like not rules, but like boundaries, but not a lot, because you realize that as a DM, when you're doing it all by yourself, you have complete creative control. There are boundaries at the player where the players are in. They can't do this. They can't do that. You're in charge of the world building aspect. Like, you know, you're supposed to sit there and play the game and let the game sort of make it fun. I love world building so much. Like, why deprive the players also of that experience? That's half of what we're doing. So I love giving you the leash to let you go take the dog for a walk too. You know,
the nice thing of how we've done this is it really feels like I've got a running start to jump right in with and be able to answer all the questions that I know I'm going to get asked. Of like, where were you guys going? What are you doing? Where are you from? What's your mission? Why should we not just kill you too?
Tammy Jill.
Cause I'm a girl and you ain't seeing a girl in about 7 years, son. That's why.
Until next time, I feel like next time we're gonna do we didn't do a followers subject, a question. We are going to do one next time. I will post that up there. There will be a poll on some good things that Chris and I will talk about. But I also, Chris, I want to build either Ashendon or the Everglade. So I don't know where you guys are headed, but it's going to.
We're going to have to hold off. I have to make sure that I can survive next session, and that we don't need to do another one of these after you kill Tam Joe.
Yep.
Or one of the other players on the team kills Tam Joe.
Yep. This Cold War thing is gonna be crazy. But until then, thank you for watching.
Roll high and subscribe.
Yeah, roll high and subscribe. Hit that like, share.